Hey everybody, I'm going to put out a video to get ready for next week's live seminar. Before I start, if you didn't subscribe to this channel yet, please pause for a moment, hit subscribe, and thumbs up while you're there if you would please. More importantly, please share the videos that you like with other people. I could use as much support as possible. I want to keep continuing to do these videos and grow my audience, so I appreciate the support. So I'm going to do this video talking about the information you'll need for next week's live seminar. So week one, we did a video on emotional stress. We did a three-part thing. It was about 15 minutes each. And then during the week, I put out more stuff about emotional stress and dopamine and things of that nature, so that when we got together in the live seminar, we all had a common foundation in which to stand on that prerequisite knowledge. I'm going to attempt to do the same thing for next week when we do our live seminar. We're going to be talking about physical stress. And this is a bigger topic than you think. You may be thinking physical stress. What does he mean by that? Well, I mean a bunch of things. Most obviously, I do mean pain, but we're going to see how this maps onto a whole bunch of other things that you're probably not thinking about. And more importantly, what are the consequences of having a lot of physical stress in your body? So there's emotional stress and there's physical stress. There's also chemical stress, which maybe we'll talk about briefly in the live seminar next week. But those are your three major forms of stress. But when people talk about physical stress, they're often missing some of the more obvious points here. Because yes, it is a big deal, for example, if you have chronic knee pain or chronic back pain or chronic neck pain. I'll just abbreviate this as simple as possible to make this point. If you're living in some type of chronic joint pain, back, neck, shoulder, or all of those things, the hormones that you're creating are the same problematic hormones that we talked about in emotional stress. So all of the same consequences are happening to you, including high glucocorticoid levels, including it affecting your thyroid, meaning your thyroid levels will go down. And by the way, we didn't get too much into talking about thyroid, but there's a whole bunch of things that happen in a bad way when thyroid levels are low and when cortisol levels stay too high. And to be clear, cortisol, people think cortisol and they associate that with stress, but cortisol is something that we need to have in our bodies. It's important to have. It helps wake us up in the morning. It is an incredibly powerful anti-inflammatory. So when cortisol levels are high and they stay high, this is your body's response to try to keep inflammation down. Now, so the problems with all those, with this happening continuously, we've talked about at this point way too much. So, but my point is that when you have the physical issues going on, low back, knee, neck, whatever, these same hormones are just as high and sometimes higher. So all of the same consequences are occurring. Your body just sees it as stress. So it sees emotional, limbic stress, right, as stress, and it sees stress in your body as stress. And the same hormones are released, and therefore the same problems occur. Now, let's just pause to think about that for a moment. So if you want to lose weight, it's a problem, right? If you want to feel good and not depressed and have sort of a level-headedness about you, clear-minded, we already know what these stress hormones will do to your brain. We know what they will do to your emotions. We know what they will do in terms of your ability to lose weight. So fixing your physical ailments is an issue, is a huge, important thing. Now, we'll talk about this more in the live seminar as far as what can be done about fixing physical ailments. A lot of the time, yes, you can fix things in just a few minutes, make it feel better. But at the end of the day, we want to get to the underlying causes of what's actually creating this physical ailment. Now, some of you may have guessed already. Sitting down way too much is a problem. Sitting's not a problem. If you sit for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, or even an hour, I'm not really opposed to that. But just understand that your children are asked to sit down from a very young age over the course of a school day, which is usually about 7.5 to 8 hours, and most of the time they're seated. They already have the problems of a seated lifestyle. And when you add a damn cell phone into their hand, they are now doing this with their necks all day, and just start looking at the lumps that are already developing in the back of their neck. Now, you may think, well, yeah, that's just bad posture. It's not just bad posture. Your child is already developing problems in C6, C7, going all the way up the cervical spine. And those, so if you're unfamiliar, which I'm sure many of you are, these are nerves, for example, C6, C7, that tie right into your diaphragm, which are your breathing muscles. So imagine now you're creating stress in these vertebrae, which are going to cause problems with breathing. And when you're already seated, we're already packing down and shutting down that diaphragm so it doesn't move very well. Already we're creating a society that can't breathe. And do I need to tell you guys about the ridiculous amount of asthma problems that are going around in society today, which most of it certainly is food-based, but it's also just the inability to exhale. And yes, I will say it again, asthma is an exhalation problem, and it can be reversed. You just have to know what to do, okay? Now, again, but most of the time we're not thinking about breathing in terms of your cervical spine and in terms of what we're doing with our heads and our necks and our shoulders. But similarly, if we keep going up the cervical spine, we're talking about radial and ulnar nerves, which go down your arms, which if you want your arms to be strong and if you don't want your fingers to tingle and feel weird and get carpal tunnel, you'd better have a healthy cervical spine. And we're just talking about your neck right now. So again, if you don't think that we're causing harm to our kids almost immediately by sitting down so much and by having them looking at their phone all the damn time, we're creating problems down the line. And I've already talked about the problem with blue light and getting that into your eyes way too much. You guys may think that that's just some type of hoax or whatnot. Please do the research for yourself. Please look at the problems that are caused when you get way too much LED, which is blue light, into your eyeballs, especially later on at night. You are absolutely shutting off your body's ability to create melatonin and therefore the ability to fall asleep. There's other consequences as well, but we'll save that for another time. If you guys want to talk about it next week, we can. But aside from that, let's just take this paradigm, okay? And for the past 16 years owning Fit for Life, when you walk into our facility, one thing you won't see is machines for you to sit down in and move stuff. Why? Well, I just told you why. Because we're already a seated society. Why would I have you walk into a gym after sitting all day at the desk, in your car, when you get home on your couch, in order for you to do more seated work in a gym? A gym is supposed to be corrective. And let's just be flat out honest for 1 second. The reason why most people in the gym don't do the warm-ups, which when you look at them, are all of the things that you need to do, okay, in order to prevent all of the things I'm describing. The reason why people don't do them is because they're hard. That's why. There's no other reason. It's not because I can give you all of the evidence in the world about the benefits of it. I mean, I took the time to put together the warm-up videos. I paid a lot of money to have somebody come in and film them and actually map out exactly what's happening there. At the end of the day, the reason why people don't do the corrective work there is because it's hard. But that is telling about how much people need it. Now, having said that, when people are training with us, guess what they're doing? They're doing the things that they're not doing during the day. We're doing things where they're reaching. We're doing things where they're squatting in good form, keeping their spine long, hip hinging. Okay, they're moving their shoulders and their necks in particular ways. They're twisting, they're moving their upper backs in particular ways, they're using their eyeballs in particular ways. And a lot of times people are doing things that we're asking them to do. We just tell them to do it. In seminars, we tell them why. You know, we go into specifics about why we have you move like this and do things this way. And at the end of the day, it's not like we're sitting there in every exercise explaining for 5 minutes what we're doing. We keep you moving pretty fast and pretty well over the course of your session. And obviously everybody has their own limitations based on age, based on surgeries, based on all these things. But exercise should be corrective in the sense that you're doing things that you're not doing during the work week, right? If we're sitting all the time, we should do things where we're more standing, balancing, lunging, you get it, all in good form, and making sure that there's no physical pain when you move. If you're training in pain, you're wrong. If you train in pain, meaning joint pain, if you move, if you lunge and your knee hurts, this is not good. And if you keep doing it, your body's going to let you know, and it will eventually stop you from doing it. It will do things like lay down calcium. Why does your body lay down calcium deposits? Because it's your body's way of trying to literally make a cast to stop you from moving the joint, right? Calcium is made, bones are made from calcium. So it's basically putting a bone structure there in order for you to stop because you won't listen to your damn body. That's how brilliant our bodies are, right? It recognizes the signal. Now, you may not pay attention to the signal, but your body is paying attention to the signal. You may be stupid enough to keep moving through that joint pain, but your body's going to lay down bone there, and it's also going to lay down a lot of inflammation there. Well, what do you think your body's telling you? Now, your body is doing this all of the time at so many levels, whether you recognize it or not. So as I continue the conversation into part 2, try to recognize exactly this point, how much your body is telling you all of the time that you are ignoring. So your body's telling you one thing and you're doing something else. So I'll stop part 1 here, and I'll jump into part 2, and we'll talk about some of the things that you're probably not thinking about other than just physical joint pain when you move or when you're walking around.